in Richmond. Joining us now, Republican Congressman from the 5th District of Virginia, Congressman Robert Hurt. Congressman Hurt, great to have you, sir.
Thank you, John. Glad to be with you.
Big day today. John Boehner getting a challenge from Ted Yoho, Congressman from Florida, Republican one-termer, Louis Gohmert, the former judge in Texas. These are what you would call classic Tea Party conservatives. As we understand it, Congressman Hurt, 29 Republicans would have to vote for someone else other than John Boehner for this to get to a second ballot. How do you see this playing out?
Well, I've been on your program many times and I think I've made no secret that I don't always support everything our leadership does, and always stand up for the people I represent.
That's true,
regardless of what leadership advocates for. And but in this situation, we are less than 24 hours, 48 hours away from an election, and these two fellows have announced. And for the life of me, I don't understand if you've run campaigns all your life, it's not easy to get elected to Congress in the first instance. Why you would wait to the weekend before? It strikes me as not a serious effort. Now, I would be happy to consider an alternative to the Speaker, John Boehner, but as you know, at the conference meeting that we had in November when these elections were decided, no one stepped up then, and no one has stepped up in the interim. So it strikes me as just a little too little, a little too late. But we'll see how it plays out. I'm not inside the palace intrigue factory, so it's not clear to me exactly what's going to happen. But as I said, I'm happy to consider alternatives, but I'm not sure that the two that have stepped up this late in the game with no plan for leading a majority of 245 people on behalf of the American people is going to succeed.
Congressman Hurt with us on the John Fredericks Show, Republican 5th District of Virginia. Congressman, you are right. You have come on my show many times and have not been shy about your displeasure with the Speaker and with leadership. You are also adamantly opposed to the Cromnibus spending effort that went down a few weeks ago. When you look at the fact that John Boehner sailed through the conference, that was prior to the Cromnibus spending bill passing. So some people are saying, look, had we known that was going to go down then, that maybe a challenge would have emerged. But I guess what you're saying is, well, even after that, they still had, 2-3 weeks.
Yeah.
And I do.
And that's certainly an arguable point.
Right.
But again, remember the Speaker is the number 3 person in the United States.
Yeah.
Third behind the President,
right.
And Vice President. And it is a job that requires skill and experience. It's a job that requires massive organizational skills, laying out a plan for a future. I may not always agree with the plan that our leadership lays out for us, but I think most people would agree they have organization, they have a plan, and I think what we need to keep our eye on, and I guess this is what I would say to your listeners, John, and is what I think we really need to focus on is not taking pot shots at leadership 48 hours before the election. I mean, seriously. And what we need to instead focus on is holding leadership to the line as we go into 114th with a whole lot of things to be excited about.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've got a new majority in the Senate that we hope that we can work with. We really hope that we're going to be able to put good pro-growth bills, freedom bills on the President's desk and make him sign them or veto them, which I think will draw a huge contrast to the American people about who's interested in freedom and opportunity and prosperity and who's not.
Right.
And I think that's what we need to be focused on. And I think the American people are they've given us a chance. They've given the Republicans a chance, even whether they deserve it or not. The American people have given us a chance to lead, and I think that we need to do that with confidence and optimism and strength and courage. And I think if we do that, I think that not only will we be serving the short term interests of the American people, but we'll be serving the interests of our children and grandchildren, and that's why I ran.
And I want to just compliment you, Congressman, for coming on our show so often. We're going into year number 4 broadcasting across Virginia, so this is our 3rd year anniversary month. You've been unbelievably accessible, and we really appreciate that, and I know that our listeners do as well. So I just want to thank you for that.
I always enjoy coming on your program, and more important, I appreciate what you do for your listeners and my constituents and informing them about what's going on. We may not always agree on issues, but the most important thing, I think, is as our founders knew, was for the electorate to be informed, so that because ultimately the electorate will make the right choices if they have the facts, and they can't have the facts unless there are people like you who are willing to go out there and show them what the facts are. So thank you for that.
I certainly appreciate that, and thank you also. Getting back to the speaker situation now, just my view here is I think it's probably healthy for many conservatives that there's an outlet, whether it be Ted Yoho, Representative Gohmert, whatever, so that those that feel betrayed do have an alternative. But on the other hand, I really agree with both yourself and the statement last night by your colleague, Congressman Griffith, in that there's something wrong with launching a candidacy for Speaker on Fox News on a Sunday afternoon before Tuesday. I mean, it just doesn't inspire confidence that this whole thing was thought through. While I think, some people do need an outlet, I think if there was a serious challenge, it could have been mounted in December.
Yeah, and John, it's not like we didn't know. I think everybody thought that we were going to grow our majority. I don't think anybody thought we were going to return to the minority. So it's not like we didn't have ample opportunity to have candidates out there before the election. Honestly, but going to your good point, I would say this. Obviously, anytime that there's a choice on a ballot, that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Yes.
My only point is waiting 48 hours to launch your bid doesn't speak very highly of your I would suggest your leadership style, or your ability to win, or your ability to organize, or your ability to be effective. That's my first point. But it is good to have. Of course, it's good to have a choice. We always want choices. I always am glad to have challengers in my races, because I think it's healthy for democracy. It's good for the people, and it reminds each of us that these offices do not belong to any one office holder. They belong to the people. That's the first thing. The second thing I would say is to your point, is that I do think that certainly the vote against the omnibus, and I voted against it along with 60-plus other Republicans, that sent a message loud and clear to leadership that in the 114th, when we have to put things on the floor that pass by 218 Republican votes. We can't count on help from Democrats to do anything. When we come to that place, we are not going to be able to do anything if they don't fight harder and aren't more aggressive in solving the big picture problems that face this country, namely $18 trillion in debt, borrowing 15 cents on every dollar we spend, refusing to deal with reforming Medicare and Medicaid, and the countless other challenges this administration has created for us.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's immigration or Obamacare, all those things we need to fight harder. And I think that it's my hope. I can't say that I know how the leadership will be. We'll just see. But it's my hope that they receive the message loud and clear. And frankly, regardless of how this works out, but let's say the speaker gets reelected, Boehner gets reelected. I think that there will be a message received. So, and that's a good thing. And so I would agree with you on that point.
One of the things that was not in the Cromnibus bill that you voted no on, by the way, I thought that was the right thing to do, was Homeland Security is only funded for, I think, through the end of February.
Correct.
And part of the argument that the leadership used on amnesty is that, well, it can be addressed then. How would that happen, and what happens March 1?
Well, remember, it's a spending bill for the Department of Homeland Security. A lot of the immigration enforcement goes through Homeland Security, and the hope is, and my hope is that that we will be able to sit down at the table and participate process by which we limit the president's ability to do a lot of these things by executive order by defunding them. I mean, that's the key, is trying to use our leverage to limit as much as possible what the president can do by using by using the appropriations process for that purpose. We will have partners in the Senate, we hope, and if we're able to do that, then I think that we will have some negotiating power. But remember, we do have the Senate, and that puts us in a much stronger position. But remember that anything that gets passed by the House and the Senate and is made law has got to be signed by the president. And so we don't run the tables. And I think that's important for all of us to remember. We need to be careful not to overplay our hand, so to speak, and create expectations of things that are perhaps more than what we're able to achieve. But I do think that we have to try as hard as we can to make those changes, and that should and I'm will and have advocated that our leadership move on this now, not wait until the last minute and just give us something. I mean, that's one of the reasons I voted against the omnibus, was because they waited till less than 48 hours before voting on a $1.1 trillion, 1,600-page bill, and plopped it on our desk and said, this is it, up or down, vote for it, and that's no way to operate, and so we can avoid that crisis if we work on this in a collaborative way ahead of time. we have a month and a half to do this, and so I just hope that it will be collaborative, it will be open, and it will be open to amendments, the important amendments that were not allowed in the last omnibus. I think that that process needs to be opened up.
Well, hopefully this challenge to leadership is a wake-up call, and we're not going to go through what we did with the omnibus bill, which is this overextending package that you've got basically 2 days to read 1,700 pages, and hopefully that's not going to happen. That's why, again, I'm for the challenge, because I think conservatives have to do something to get John Boehner's attention. Whether or not this is it, I don't know, but you have to do something. Sir, we got 3 minutes. I want to get to Cuba. What do you think?
Well, I just think that this president demonstrates every day that he doesn't fully appreciate history, doesn't fully appreciate the big things, the big picture, and the great principles that made this country great. And I think if someone were to really lay out for the American people in a way that they in a compelling way, in a way that in a form in which you could get their attention on this issue, I think they would be shocked to know what the Castros have done over the years and why it is that we have the relationship that we have. I think the problem is over time those terrible things that they have done to their people are forgotten. And as a consequence, we wind up stumbling towards a new relationship with people. It's all unfathomable to me, and the idea that we give them all these great benefits of a working relationship with this country, and we get nothing. I mean, we got zero for it, and they got everything. And I don't understand it for the life of me, and I think that and I think it's sad, and I think it's just one more piece of evidence as to why this president is flailing so badly at this time in his presidency, because he does not understand the big picture.
Well, he just released another 2 prisoners from Guantanamo Bay today from Gitmo. He announced it overnight because he knew that it would get crushed out of the news cycle with the Speaker's Challenge going on. So politically, these guys are still pretty astute. We're out of time, though. We want to thank Congressman Robert Hurt, Republican from the 5th District of Virginia, that's the South Side, for being with us. By the way, his district is bigger than, I think, 5 states or something, isn't it? Bigger.
Yeah,
it's bigger than
10,000 square miles. Yeah, almost the size of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
It's almost as big as Massachusetts, big district. We want to thank you for being with us.